Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside. Hey scrappers, Tom Bushell here from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. Welcome to March. And you know what? I know my grandma's not going to see this, but she's turning 100 on Friday. Happy 100th birthday, Grandma. What a great accomplishment. Great genes in the family. So, hey, what's going on with the scrap markets? It's been a little fun recently, hasn't it? We've seen prices go up across the board. We've seen updates on tariffs coming out, and we're live right now, 1 p.m. Eastern on March 12th. So if you're with us, make sure you ask us questions because we would love to be able to answer these. We've done a couple of Q&A sessions recently, so check those out. And before we jump into the scrap updates, please subscribe to our page. If you're looking to get more scrap videos teaching you how to make more money, you can become a YouTube member of ours. So check these things out. We have early access to all of our YouTube members for the videos that we're creating. Tomorrow, we have another docket of videos for creation that we're going to be out in the yard working on. So it'll be an exciting few weeks coming up. So let's see what we got in the markets. Let's just talk about copper because this is crazy. We are 2.5 or 3%, depending on where the markets are right now, from hitting all-time record highs. Yay, right? Insert, what is it called? Jazz hands? Insert jazz hands here. Am I impressed? I don't know. I really am not impressed because I truly believe that this is a trader-driven price surge. Because I talked to someone at a copper mill 3 days ago. 3 days ago? Today's Wednesday? 2 days ago, Monday. They haven't had any increased demand. They haven't had any problems with supply. So when you don't have a problem with demand, you don't have a problem with supply. But if you can see on this, can you expand that? Is that 30 days, 15 days?
This is 15 days.
So let's go 30 days out here. No, Virginia on the bottom. Go to 1 month. Those are 30 minutes. Now, when we look at the 1 month chart here, right, for copper prices, we jumped in a crazy period of time. Look, March 4th, we saw 453. Today, at one point, it was 489 this morning, 490. You can see that it hit. But we talked about this last week. When prices go up this fast, scrap yards don't raise their prices that quickly, right? Because the mills that I talk to, they widen their spreads. And I talked about this. Maybe normally they'll pay a scrap yard 50 cents under COMEX for bare bright. But now they're going to pay the scrap yard 65 cents per pound under COMEX. They widened their spread because these prices went up so fast. They don't want to shell that extra money out if they don't have to, because if the demand's not there and they have plenty of supply, what the heck is the point of being able to have all this stuff? So it's interesting to see what happens. We haven't seen those tariffs kick in on copper specifically, but I definitely know that the tariffs on aluminum and steel that went into effect this morning at midnight did have a little bit of an impact on some of those copper prices, and that is a direct correlation kind of in the announcement. And they even talked about potentially having a 12.5% tariff on copper. So if that happens, I expect the US copper market to go higher. The problem is there's technically two copper markets. There's a world copper market, and then there's a US copper market. We've now seen the US copper pricing outpacing the world. That doesn't really make sense as copper is a world-driven commodity. But it does make sense when you look at it in a finite lens and you say, oh, these tariffs are the things that are hurting or helping, I should say, on a scrap side of things, the copper prices. So just interesting thing to see. Speaking of copper prices, quick plug, we just did an update on our iScrap price page. Please check that out. Some awesome info on there. Graphs, posting prices. And we've found a lot of people have been asking us about, hey, how do I get a price quickly on stuff? If you need something, you can just like go to Google and type iScrap plus the name of the metal that you're looking for. So like iScrap bare bright price. And that page is going to pop right up so you can get there quickly. And don't forget, on the app itself, our whole list is there. But we've seen some increasing, we see some numbers, you see some fluctuations here. And that's because we've seen such volatility in the markets. That's generally what happens. You know, my scrapyard today is paying $4.10 a pound for Bear Bright. And as long as the price increases that I just showed on the screen hold today, I'm probably going to jump another 5 to 10 cents tomorrow. I would normally already jump the 10 cents, but we just see such uncertainty from day to day. Look at the stock market. Any of you that have looked last week, it's been a little sloppy. I think that we've seen a 10% pullback in the overall market since the election, right? So that just shows quick up, quick down. So correction territory. But these are the things that we look at. But again, if you're looking to learn more about pricing, looking for a quick price, you can just Google iScrap app plus the name, and that'll, boom, there you go. While we're talking about copper, a couple articles that we read. One was from Recycling Today. And don't forget, a lot of these are inside of our weekly reports. Copper mine production rose 2.3% in 2024, while refined production increased 4.2%. Recycled content copper output also grew to 2%, highlighting the role of the secondary markets. And that's just showing you that the coppers continue to be needed, right? 2% growth in a mine means they're pulling more out year over year. 4% higher recycling rate. That means that some people had material on the sidelines, put it back into the markets. Or 2024 could have been a really great year on a demo side of things, on an overall recycling side of things that really contributed to a lot of the markets. And believe it or not, in election years, there are some companies that hold massive amounts of material, unload it before or after elections, depending on how they like the results. So none of these things surprised me. So I'm happy to see copper output up both on a mining and on a production level, recycling wise. That's great for the copper markets moving forward. And I do think that we're going to continue to see strong prices on copper for this year. We have some questions we want to talk about. Sure. Eric said, what are you going to be paying for copper aluminum radiators? Great question. Clean ACRs, we're paying $1.70 a pound, but we probably have about a nickel being added to that right now. Dirty ones are in the $1.20 to $1.30 range. It all depends on how much steel is on them. So Eric, thank you so much for the question. When you look at some of these copper markets, non-ferrous markets, right? A lot of them have really been grown. Aluminum, for instance, we've seen some of the highest level of aluminum prices in years, if not ever. We've seen aluminum go up another few percentage points last week, and we're starting to see sheet aluminum, which for me, I always look at sheet aluminum and siding as kind of the two bellwethers when it comes to a scrap aluminum side of things, because most scrappers, you might be getting some window frames and stuff like that, but they end up becoming like an old sheet. Or it's a siding. Those are your common things, pots and pans, things like that go into it. But we are starting to see a nice increase on an aluminum side of things. My scrapyard's sheet aluminum price, we increased last week by 5 cents, and we're going to be increasing it again as long as the markets hold by another 5 cents in the next few days, because we're seeing strong pricing, but we're also seeing strong demand. So if you have any prices on the aluminum that you've received, don't forget to post that online. Super easy to do. Even on this sheet aluminum page, look in the top right area, submit price. Boom, you can go in there, put your price in real quick, and you get some more money. Then you get some more prices out there to help learn about it. Do we have any questions on aluminum?
I mean, we just had what's the forecast of aluminum prices, and then we had one on pop cans.
Yeah, give me one. So I'm not going to try to pronounce that handle. Will soda pop cans go above $1 a pound? I'm going to say yes. I rarely give you a solid answer. I'm going to say yes to that. I really do think that UBC scrap in the right states, don't forget, in the right states at the right yard, should see $1 a pound. If you haven't seen some prices, I saw some prices recently in the 80 to 90 cent range. So I fully expect that number to grow higher. 53 cent national average, 65, 71, 76. I really think that in strong aluminum can recycling states like California, Georgia, you're going to start to see some higher prices for larger loads, not with 100-pound scrappers. We've talked about this since 2011. Scrapyards don't get excited by 50 pounds. They get excited by 500 pounds of non-ferrous or more. 5,000 pounds of steel or more. Those are kind of the tipping points from what I've seen. You could disagree with me, but this is just what I've seen throughout the markets, talking to my friends across the country who already own different scrap yards. Do we have any, let's see here. Steel. I want to talk about steel prices. Yippee, yay, ki-yo, mofos. Here we go. Steel prices. If you see on the bottom of my news flash, it just says sell all, sell all, sell all, sell all. I've seen steel prices go up 60, 70 bucks a ton. I do believe we're going to see a little bit of a pullback in April from what I've heard, maybe 10 to 30 a ton coming off of the April markets. But after seeing a $70 increase, who's going to really complain about a small decrease when 2024 was a bit of a wah-wah year? I think that these tariffs are going to help the scrap markets more than you can think about. I really, really do. I think that the aluminum and steel either remaining in this country on a recycling side of things or just having those tariffs implemented on them is going to help the U.S. domestic scrap markets more than we've seen in years. In 2021, we saw a very strong year for steel pricing, but I don't look at those aberrations post-COVID as a bellwether for me to really look at. I don't look at that stuff. I look at sustained periods of time with nice, strong prices. So 2021 led into 2022. What do we have then? Ukrainian conflict with Russia, right? So that kind of extended the bull run. Then what do we see in 23 halfway through? We started to see those prices drop slowly, a little at a time, little bites taken out. Going to 2024, election year, less demand out there, not knowing some of the lowest levels we've seen for pricing in years. And when you adjust the prices for the inflationary numbers, the steel prices in 2024 were some of the worst that we've seen in years. Again, throw like a COVID out. I don't count stuff like that. So steel prices coming back. Oil prices are down to like 66 bucks a barrel from 71 in a month. That's awesome. Gasoline prices down 10 to 15 cents on regular the last month. That's awesome. These are things that are going to continue to decrease the markets when it comes to a fuel, but it's going to increase the profitability when it comes to steel. We got questions.
We have a question from the Grumpy German.
Grumpy German. Will and if how will tariffs and a price war affect West Coast prices? A lot of material gets sent to China from here. I mean, listen. The exporting market is going to be affected on how the Chinese importing tariffs change, right? Pretty simple. Now, California, in my opinion, sucks because you have not a lot of refiners in California because the environmental laws have pushed a lot of the steel and copper and aluminum refiners out of the state. By pushing them out of the state, you've constricted the market that you sell to. So now you have that West Coast. And because of the mountain range, Colorado, Utah, that whole area, there's not a lot of big recycling centers around there that you can sell thousands of tons of steel, aluminum, copper to, right? So it kind of is going to constrict you on the West Coast. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea. But domestically, it's going to help a lot if you're selling scrap. So that's awesome. So hopefully you can make some money on that. I want to talk about catalytic converters because I haven't had good news on catalytic converters in a long, long time. I mean, I haven't seen cat prices at this level probably in a year. Rhodium yesterday went over $6,000 an ounce. And you might be saying, oh my God, that's such a high price. 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, rhodium was $30,000 an ounce. So 6,000 up from 4,000. Sure, it's a drop in the bucket compared to 30. But when you go from 4,000 an ounce to 6,000 an ounce, that's a 50% increase. Platinum prices are nearing 1,000 an ounce again. Palladium prices as well. And RRCats.com has seen some of the highest amount of quotes recently with these higher pricing. So with continued free shipping on OEM cats, 10-day price locks, and then PayPal fees waived after $200 in scrap purchases, contact the team at RRCats.com because we're buying cats, we're buying spark plugs, and we're buying O2 sensors. Yeah, you heard me, scrappers. Spark plugs and O2 sensors, I will also pay for you to ship to us, not on your dime, 100% on us, just like the scrap market. So O2 sensors, spark plugs, these are things you should be saving. If you have questions on how to do it, just contact one of the team members at rrcats.com today. We'll walk you through the entire process because I think cats are going to be a really good item for the balance of this year, especially as we start to see more domestic production. Look at what Trump is doing. I don't care if you love it or you hate it. I'm just going to tell the story the way that I see it. More auto manufacturers are coming into the country. I believe as of yesterday, 4 different auto manufacturers announced that they would be putting plants in the United States. What does that do? That keeps more product in the country, right? That's a good thing. Getting rid of EV credits, right? Stinks for you EV guys, you EV makers, but now you're going to have free market dictating where people go. Catalytic converters are going to become more needed and more heavily laden with precious metals to help combat the pollutants and toxins going out and into the air. Question?
Just a comment from Jim here.
Jim, Steel Dynamics is opening a big aluminum recycling plant in Mississippi. Perfect timing. I know about that plant, and I got a buddy who's within 50 miles of that place, and he's going freaking nuts. I'm happy for you, Jim. I hope that makes you some money. There's another steel plant going in Virginia or West Virginia. And I got another friend who has a steel yard that's like 15 miles away. So we're seeing these jobs coming back, these recycling manufacturing jobs, and that is going to spur more metal price growth and stability long time. Lower oil prices, more products refined and recycled in the country, you're going to see scrap prices on an awesome level for a long time. That's why I'm so optimistic about 2025. I really do think it's going to be a really strong year for scrap. Sure, you're going to see turbulent prices, 10 cents here, $30 a ton there. I don't care about that stuff. Day to day is fine. It's just how you live. But on a 1-year basis, I bet you 2025 becomes one of the most stable and strong scrap years that we've seen, maybe since 2021 and 2022. But again, those were a little false positives because of COVID. They were still good years, but I do think that this year is going to be a good one. Another question.
Question from
Chris, my closest scrapyard is telling me that copper windings from ACs are only worth $2.45 a pound. Am I getting ripped off? Ding, 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 ding. Your scrap senses are going off. I think you are. They should be like a #2 copper price at my yard, as long as the windings are not too dirty. A #2 copper comes in, let's see, I think $3.35 or $3.45 per pound. I'm just looking on my own screen real quick. Let's see here. #2, $3.60 per pound. So if your windings have a little paper on them, maybe they could downplay you by 30 cents, 40 cents, maybe $3. But at $2.45, our address is 311 West Main Street, Rockaway, New Jersey, and you are welcome to come out and see us. And if you ever have enough weight scrappers, we've been buying larger amounts of scrap from scrappers like yourselves through the mail. So we have different services that will be able to buy your scrap. We just bought a load of bronze from a customer who mailed it to us from 4 states over. So please, rockawayrecycling.com, let us know, or contact us through the iScrap app. Let's talk about some other markets that we've been paying attention to. And I want to talk about nickel prices. Nickel prices over the last few weeks have finally shown a little sign of life. We're starting to see the pricing going up. We're starting to see some of the pricing going higher than the levels. Stainless steel is going to be very slow to increase, but we did see nickel prices go from about $15,000 per ton up to $16,005, right? So that's a 10% increase. Unfortunately, when you have stainless prices that are 33 cents a pound, 10% is going to be 3 cents, and that's not even going to come to you for another 60 days. So for a long time, I suggested holding stainless, and then I just scrapped that idea. I think stainless markets are not going to have a strong year. Prove me otherwise. I'd love to be wrong. I really would. I would really love to be wrong, but that's kind of where I'm looking. But let's talk about the tariffs. Let's talk about the biggest topic of the week. Let's go over them, how they're going to impact us, and maybe my opinion on what they're going to do to the markets. Now, these tariffs are designed to upset people. They are designed to rattle the markets. They are designed to become economic bargaining tools with other countries. Ride the wave. Ride the wave. You got higher prices because of it. It's a great time to sell. I think it's going to take 6 to 18 months for these things to be able to iron themselves out. I know that's a long time, right? But it's not easy to make multi-billion-dollar deals with other countries. And I'll give you one example I heard yesterday, right? I don't remember all the numbers, but I'll get close on how tariffs can affect metal prices and why I think that having them in place is going to help. I believe it was a Chevrolet pickup truck in the US sells for $50,000. I think in Canada, it sells for $58,000. In Europe, it sells for $70,000 or $90,000. In India, it goes for $120,000. Those are all because of the tariffs levied on the auto manufacturers, bringing those into their countries. So what has happened? The United States has a large car manufacturing division, right? Chevy, GM, Ford, just to name a few quickly. Well, when they can't take their cars, make them here in the United States, put them on ships and sell them for roughly what they're selling them for here because the tariffs are so great. The other people in other countries, why are they going to spend 120 grand on a pickup truck? You're just not. You're going to buy a local one, right? But when India sends something into the United States, they're not being charged 2.2% more than, or 2.2 times what the good cost. So that's where you start to have, and India is a great trading partner with us. But President Trump is saying, hey, listen, we need reciprocal tariffs. You want to charge us X? We're going to charge you X. Or we have lower costs and barriers into the country to entry, if you will. You create more of a free trade market. And those are the things, in my opinion, that spur true private sector economic growth. And that's why I'm so bullish on the scrap markets this year, because the emphasis on the United States manufacturing from auto to machine shops is only going to help strengthen the scrap prices. And it's going to take a year, right? You don't just have companies like Honda come and say, oh, we're going to open up a new factory in the US. You can't buy those. You got to build those, or you got to outfit or retrofit other factories. That takes time. That takes 6, 12, 18, 24 months to get things up and running. Then you got to hire people. Then you got to get supply chains, a lot of things, but these are really good. And that's why I'm so optimistic that while tariffs could hurt short term, in reality, they're going to help on a scrap side and from a domestic production side. I'm a big fan of them. I'm all for it as long as it takes to get things to be even on a world scale. Any other questions, Virginia? No?
Couple comments.
So, you can post them if you want. My yard went from 7 cents a pound to 12.5 cents in 2 weeks. Loving it. See, that's a perfect example. And that, just ready. We've talked about this, why scrap yards take longer sometimes. They have old orders to fill. They fill 500-ton orders. New prices come in. Then they change their prices. That's what happens sometimes, because scrap yards, if they sold at 200 a ton and the prices went up $50, they can't always just give that to you because they still need to fill that. And if they have no material, what do? Another question?
We had a question earlier from Doug.
Wouldn't it be nice if scrap yards would take lithium batteries? This incentive would help us recycle and put a little bit of cash in your pocket. What's your take on this? I have a real love-hate relationship with lithium batteries, and I'll tell you why. Incredibly hard to put out in fires, incredibly hard for scrap yards to store inside, incredibly hard to get positive values for. Most customers that reach out to Rockaway Recycling with any type of lithium-based battery ends up being a negative charge. So if you had 20 pounds of lithium batteries and you brought them to my scrapyard and I told you, hey, Doug, you owe me $1 a pound to get rid of these, what would you say to me? No, thanks. Because scrapyards don't really want to deal with little micro weights. They want to deal with 2, 3, 4,000 pounds, because if they're going to have a risk assessment on material that's flammable, they don't want to have problems. So that's what I think about. It would be really nice, and I wish that they could. I don't do it here, and we try to be one of the most progressive upfront companies with this stuff, but our systems downstream are not established strongly enough for us to take these in. Any more questions, V? I'm not going to try to say that handle. Hey, Tom, I sold shred steel for $165 a ton a few days ago. Was that a fair price, or should I have waited for more? Number one, I don't know where you were. I think that's a pretty good price. We're paying $130 a ton for steel at my yard. Don't forget, I'm not a shredding operation. I don't have large piles of steel, so you can't compare what I say to the markets. Here you go. 165 is your national average. So kudos to you, LB Mallsplains. Looks like you got a pretty good national average. And again, if you had a couple thousand pounds, that's a good price. I do think that some of the markets are going to go up, but you got the national average. So there's not a lot of bitching on that. I'm happy to see you have those pricing. Any other questions, V? Listen, scrappers, my name is Tom. Don't forget, subscribe to our page. Become a YouTube member. Looking for prices? Check out the iScrap app, whether it's on your iPhones or your Droids. Free to download and use. Gives you lots of areas to learn about the markets. And if you're looking to learn about more scrap prices and more things, become a YouTube member with early access to all the videos that we're creating. Tomorrow we have another 5 that we're going to be filming. And every week, every other week, we keep filming more of these. So send us your ideas. Give us your questions. Keep posting your prices. My name is Tom. Today is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. And until next week, I'll scrap you later.